This is your guide to book publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask with your host, Dr. Judith Briles. On the show today, you'll find out where book publishing is going and how to take advantage of it. How to identify and avoid publishing predators. What opportunities are emerging as the book trade evolves in new forms. How to avoid losing money and much, much more. Join us now as a variety of publishing pros will deliver insights and strategies to take the author to the next level of publishing. It's your guide to book publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask. Brought to you by AuthorU and the Book Shepherd. And now, here's your host, Dr. Judith Briles.
Well, here we are. April has already started. We're past April Fool's Day. We're past Easter, Passover. Everything is just clipping along in the year, and I have the bug that I want to see planting starting. I'm waiting for the flowers to pop. I see a few daffodils, but coming in Colorado, sometimes it's a little bit later than, let's say, the coastal areas. But here's what we're going to talk about. Some of the new things that have been growing, breeding, have been fertilized. And it's this thing called hybrid publishing. And I guess the first question that you may have is, what is hybrid publishing? And should I be paying attention to it? So let's just kind of get into some of the ins and outs. And depending upon how much we can cover in this show, what we'll do is I may come back because of this new evolution, these new publishers that have come on the scene, which is all birthed from the self-publishing models, is that predators are multiplying and lurking. And if I have the time, I'll get into more of those red flags. But let's go back. Let me loop back to what is hybrid, and that's HYBRID, hybrid publishing. And I think that the best thing for you to do is to think of it as a catch-all. It's a catch-all or an umbrella term for kind of what's going on in publishing today. It's not a black and white type of publishing. So let's go look at those first. First, we have traditional publishing, which is pretty black and white. Traditional publishing is with a New York type of house. Now, it can be a large house, or it could be a very small house, but it has a formula. It's got a format, and that's going to be along the lines of a submission has been taken in or an acquisition. An editor could be involved. You've got someone who may have gone after you, or maybe there was an agent, which is normally the case, an agent representation. An offer was made. An advance most likely was given. It could be a small one for a few $1,000s, or it could be many thousands of dollars. But it's a contract. And basically, the publishing company takes on all financial costs of creating your book, publishing your book. And that can be very exciting in the process. So they're taking it, and you don't have to front any money. Now, most likely when you engage in one of those, you're going to have a window. It could be approximately 2 years from the time you enter into contract to the time you have a book at hand. And in the process, they manufacture the book. They most likely will do some very mini marketing. They could create a press release, but most likely you're going to be taking it on your own. But the bottom line is you're not fronting any money. That's the traditional model. That's what that looks like. That's what that feels like in that. Now, then you go all the way to the other end of the spectrum, which would be the vanity presses. Vanity Press is something like Author House, Author Solutions, iUniverse, Ex Libris, and those kind of companies. Actually, it's almost any publishing company, if they have an Indiana address on it, be suspicious. That's a vanity press. So with that said, you pay them to publish your book. So you have that pay-to-publish model. Vanity presses were the only other option for authors who couldn't get picked up by a publishing company years ago, and that we have other options today. But you have to be careful of with the vanity presses is they often grossly, incorrectly price a book. It's always on a print-on-demand type of operation, digital publishing, they call it, and that it's expensive and the quality is questionable. All right, so I'm just going to leave it at that for right now. Then you have all this stuff in between. Now you've got independent presses, small presses. Some may pay a little advance. Some may co-share, co-publish, co-partner with you in the manufacture and creation of your book. Each one is going to be different. In this hybrid model, you're going to find that many of them kind of feel like a traditional publisher. If they pay anything in advance, it would be $100 or $200 just to say that they pay in advance. It means nothing. It means nothing. But what they do is they will usually create in the higher end of the umbrella spectrum a higher quality book, and it doesn't look like it's a self-published model that the vanity presses create. That one of the things that is a plus is they do pay out usually a higher percentage in royalties. They offer to you the ability to buy books 10, 20, 30 with a deeper discount, so then you in turn can resell them yourself. That you are usually able to give some input, yay or nay, on a cover design or interior designs, and you feel like you have a little bit of input and even some control in this overall process. So that's where this hybrid starts coming into play. Now, there's a lot of controversy, I will tell you, a lot of controversy around it, because anytime you see a lot of these things starting to pop up, that you see them growing and multiplying, and I live in Denver, Colorado. There is, one of the hybrids is a company called Outskirts Press that came along early in the model, went from being a vanity more to the hybrid side of things. And I think it's also important to say that, contrary to what a lot of people believe, that traditional publishing has really been doing hybrid publishing deals for many years. For example, they could have if you enter into a contract with them, they could have a shared or a partner distribution deal. They could have co-publishing ventures with you where you pick up some of the costs, they pick up some of the costs. And sometimes, and you could see this often in printing, for example, that let's say that you were a speaker and you were well known and you had this book idea, you were putting it together, you have a massive email list, or maybe even you started taking orders for a book and bringing them in, and you actually had a boatload of people who wanted to buy it. You could go to a traditional publisher and walk in with part of the publishing cost. Maybe it's important for you to say that you're published with XYZ. And you could walk in and say that I will agree to buy 1,000 or whatever the number is. 100 isn't going to do it. But 1,000 or so copies of the book at publisher cost. You may decide I can buy, when you find out their real manufacturing costs, it could be significantly less than 50%. It could be, say, 25%. So if you had a $20 book and all of a sudden you could buy a few thousand copies for $5, I mean, you can turn around and sell those all days and make a handsome profit if you've got the venue to do that. So that's called co-publishing, and a lot of times you will see those come about in an arrangement, especially in the overall printing cost, because printing can get expensive. So, but you also know that it's one way to pull it off. If you need to have a whole bunch of sales. Now, then there's these, as we say, these partnership. Another version is this partnership thing, where you're basically a co-partner that you assume in this partnership area. So let's say you go to XYZ, and they're a hybrid publisher, and you go to XYZ, and they say, oh yeah, we'll bring all the team together, we'll do it all, but you're going to cough up all the money to make that happen. And then we'll possibly go out and distribute it or along those lines. So that's one way. That's one way to do that. And that it's a way to reduce the publisher, per se, certainly financial cost in. And it's a way for you to have maybe a team behind you who has got a lot of experience in the industry, in the field, that you're assured that you will create a good product, and because of their so-called reputation, that you'll have distribution windows and those things open to you. So that's all a plus. All right, now here's a new model that's coming along, and I won't be able to explain it all to you because we're going to take a break here in a few seconds. But we are seeing, because of the change in traditional publishing, agents getting into the mix, where agents actually say, if let's say they really love your book and they try to sell it, and they cannot get it sold, they cannot push it out, they cannot lure in a traditional publisher, they may have a side venture where they are willing to co-publish the book with you. All right, so I'm going to leave that tease. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back. It's Judith Briles, and this is AuthorU, your guide to book publishing.
This is your guide to book publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask. With your host, Dr. Judith Briles. And we'll be right back with more great information right after these.
Is there a book in you or another? AuthorU will show you how to create, develop, and publish your book without being hoodwinked. If you already have a book out, you'll find a supportive and brainstorming community that's connected and creative no matter where you live. AuthorU brings in national experts for its book camps and annual author extravaganza held each May. It has regular meetings and delivers webinars for its members on timely topics. Through AuthorU's extensive network, members enjoy exclusive benefits, including significant discounts for a variety of services necessary to publishing. The Resource, its online book publishing news magazine, is content-heavy and it's free. If you want to create a book that has pizzazz, punch, and panache, AuthorU is for you. If you're a hobbyist or a casual author, it's not. Join AuthorU today through its website at AuthorU.org. Follow AuthorU on Twitter at AuthorU and on Facebook at AuthorU, where timely author and publishing tips and articles are posted daily. AuthorU, where the author goes to become seriously successful.
First impressions are everything in the world of book publishing. Whether your book is an ebook, a print version, or both, your book cover needs to pop, sizzle, and sparkle to immediately capture the attention of your audience. And your book's interior needs to be just as dynamic and reflect the professionalism your readers demand. Nick Sellinger of NZ Graphics has won numerous national and international book awards for his cover designs and interior layouts. With over 20 years of experience in graphic design, he knows what it takes to create award-winning books and the many promotional pieces that authors need, such as posters, banners, postcards, one-sheets, business cards, logos, and more. Visit ncgraphics.com and see what authors and publishers have to say about their award-winning books and how NZ Graphics can make your book the success it was meant to be. That's nzgraphics.com.
Welcome back to your guide to book publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask. If you want to write and publish a book, if you want to be successful as an author, your guide to book publishing, everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask, is for you. Stay tuned and you'll hear about statistics, scenarios, and strategies on what to do now to get you published. So let's get back to the show. And here again is your host, Dr. Judith Briles.
Well, when I left off, I dangled the idea of having an agent who really believed in you, who loved your work, who loved you, and wanted to stay in the picture. Now, a lot of agents have enormous contacts, and, my experience is that maybe your book isn't a fit this year, but you know what? Could be next year. So if that agent is on board, this may be something to take a peek at. And what an agent does is they have a sidearm, they created a hybrid, they create their own imprint. And that what I've seen is their distribution. They don't have some of the distribution capabilities. They don't have some of the market moxie. That's really important. But if those of you who have hung around with me long enough, I am all for you learning all the marketing moxie you can for book selling, because you're going to be the primary pusher in the first place. Now, what an agent can do is it's a co. You come in, you're going to be fronting a lot of the costs, you're going to be doing these things, and they shouldn't be taking an agent fee here. So you come forward. Now, here's one of the big perks. If you've got an agent involved, many, many, many agents have contacts in the foreign rights field, meaning that your book might find its way very quickly, if it's published, in Germany or England or China or Korea or South America or, Asia, anything that you can imagine. They may have an awesome window because of all the contacts as an agent that they have that could open up avenues that you hadn't even imagined. So that's another method. Now, then you have, and this is what we've seen where I alluded to, publishers have had some of this going on for years in the co-publishing, where maybe you front some of the printing cost and all of a sudden you get deep discounts and the like. There's also another variable that really surfaced heavily in the last decade, and that's where already established companies create subsets, and usually who they do it with is someone like Author Solutions. Now, I'm going to go in names because this is where I get off on my publishing predator rant. But for example, Hay House has created their self-publishing hybrid called Balboa Press. It's really Author Solutions. Thomas Nelson has created Westbow Press. It's really Author Solutions. Simon & Schuster has created Archway. It's really Author Solutions. They're the ones that do the back office, the layouts, the cover designs, the pitching and fill in the other things. I'm going to strongly recommend you stay away from them. Now, with that said, let's kind of just jump into some other variables here. And some common questions that pop up will be things, for example, if it's not a traditional and it's not really self-published, well, there'll be something like a traditional print run. And if whatever the printing is, then who pays for it? All right, printing means an investment. It's dollars. I'm so familiar with this because my latest book, How to Create a $1 Million Speech, went to print. last week. And so we decided how many copies we were going to run. I prepaid the money for the print run. And I got a call from the printer today saying they were overnighting a proof to me so I can go through it for that one last time. Right? This is not what we're talking about here. So whoever takes on the financial risk for a book's success is usually going to be in charge of the print run. And that, my feeling is you as the author should never be paying for their own print run unless you know exactly how many books are being printed, where they're going to be sold if it's with someone, how many books that you will be given, how many books, or maybe not how many, what percentage discount, and it better be buku big, that you will be able to get books at. One of the things that with traditional publishing, depending upon the mark that they print at, how many books they print, that's really how they judge, they guesstimate a book's success will be. And I will tell you right now in New York that, and I've mentioned this on previous shows, that if a mid-list author comes in, and most of us, those of you who are listening in, would be considered a mid-list author. You're not the front runner, you're not the big banana, you're an author. And whether you're on book 1 or book 12, that your sales are okay, but they're not skyrocketing. You're not a household name. So with that said, the success of a book, nonfiction, lifetime of a book is roughly 5,000 copies right now today. Fiction is around 3,000 or so. And of that, the first year of a publication, roughly 2/3 of that will be what's sold. The rest just dribble along through the life of the book, as long as it's out there. So if you're talking with the publisher and they're saying that, well, we're going to print 100 books, there is not an investment in here. So know about that. The next question that you should be asking is, well, is there a sales team involved? Is someone going to be going out to bookstores and pitching my book? Right? It's an important question, especially if what you see is your book is going to belong and be sold primarily through the channel of a bookstore or some type of a retail operation. Now, when it says it has a sales team, and in the old days, all the publishers had sales teams. That has been curtailed down where they might even represent a whole bunch of publishers at once. So kind of like an insurance company, that if you have an agent who is with, say, State Farm, they're only going to be telling you about State Farm related products. But if they're with the XYZ insurance broker, they could be telling you about State Farm. They could tell you about an Allstate. You could go over to XYZ. You could go over to Sigma. You could go to Aetna. You could go to all kinds of different insurance companies. It's not exclusive. You want to know, is there any kind of sales team and or how they plan to distribute it? Right? So if there's a sales team, they actually go on calls. And I have to tell you, here's a kind of a little inside dirty secret. If you've got someone out who is pitching books, you're not the only book they're pitching. Your book may have 5 or 7 seconds. They're looking at the cover. Covers are essential. They're looking at the genre to see if they sell those kind of books. All right. Next up, along with how will they be distributed. So today, any one of you can get a book distributed through Ingram Spark and Amazon's via their POD, which is what they have, as long as the files meet the certain basic standards. If your book is listed via the Ingram channels, the plus is, and this is a humongous plus, all book retailers can place orders for it. Now, it doesn't mean your book is going to sit on a visible shelf if anyone walks into a bookstore. But you're in the system. And if they went to any one of the sales clerks in a bookstore who all tapped into the Ingram system, they could quickly look up your title and order the book. But here's the string attached. If your book is non-returnable, they may not order it. So understand that. You can designate whether your book is returnable, meaning a bookstore can order a book. If it doesn't sell, they have the right to return it at your expense, by the way, and get if they already paid for it, they get their money back or they get a credit. But here is another little dirty little trick, and we saw this so many times with the big boys, the distribution centers, is that often they have 90 days to pay for a book. That if they ordered, let's say they ordered several hundred books, and we get up to day 80 and maybe 10 have sold, they could return the whole lot. And then on day 91, they could reorder books again. So all your books travel back to wherever they hide, sleep. You pay for traveling back. If you have a wholesaler, they may charge you for doing inventory and putting them back to their stock. And then what they do is they come right back up and reorder, which means that you send it back. You send it back to them, and they literally reorder. You pay for it. It's a game. I hated it. I saw it all the time. All right, so with that said, that's how they operate. It's very common. So if you're using Ingram, which is print on demand, Amazon, their create space systems, that's print on demand, they're created as they're needed, and you won't get hit with some of those very significant costs that seem to come along. We'll be right back. We're moving along with key questions on dealing with the hybrid publishing field.
This is your guide to book publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask. With your host, Dr. Judith Briles. And we'll be right back with more great information right after these.
Want to publish like a pro today? Well, then take a look at Ingram Spark, the only publishing platform that offers print and ebook services through a single source. Upload, edit, and manage titles all in one place. Take more control of printing costs with print on demand, and reach even more readers through one of the world's most extensive distribution networks. Built by independent publishers for independent publishers, Ingram Spark has everything you need to maximize your book's potential: color printing, ebook distribution, print on demand, global reach, and more. Start publishing with Ingram Spark today and see just how far your titles will go tomorrow. That's ingramspark.com.
Many of us have dreamed of writing a book.
Some of us even have.
Then the hard work starts.
You'll need an editor.
Who will design the cover or typeset the pages?
Who will format the ebook?
If you're a business owner, consultant, or coach with a serious message and expertise to share, the team of experts at 1106 Design can guide you through the maze.
They've helped more than 1,000 authors create top-quality books and avoid the not-so-reputable self-publishing companies.
Learn more at 1106design.com.
Then call Michelle at 602-866-3226. 1106 Design.
When Ned Thompson and Harry Shore started Thompson Shore in 1972, they believed employees with great character would make up the best company. They were right. They hired people who were not only experts in bookmaking, but who were obsessed with quality and delivering exceptional customer service. Almost 40 years later, Thompson Shore remains a 100% employee-owned company. Ned and Harry knew that successful customer projects are a direct result of empowered employees. We specialize in all books for large and small publishers. Creating beautiful and well-made books, we're dedicated to pleasing our customers by making the experience a good one from start to finish. The personal touch we have with our customers allows us to be innovative in solving their most difficult challenges. Our platform also ensures that we can remain flexible to meet our customers' unique needs and expectations. Our marketing kit can create buzz for your title, enhancing the promotion of your book during infancy. When you need to test the market to gauge your future sales, we can provide digitally printed books that will transition seamlessly into a larger offset run. From ebook to hard copy to delivery, our skillful customer service teams are at the ready to answer your most pressing question. At Thompson Shore, we know that making the highest quality books requires more than just best technologies. It requires superior customer service, professionalism to the trade, and commitment to environmental and social values. With these standards of excellence in place, you can be sure that we will always help you put your best book forward.
Welcome back to your guide to book publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask. Coming up, you'll hear more about statistics, scenarios, and strategies on what to do now to get you published. So let's get back to the show. And here again is your host, Dr. Judith Briles.
All right, we're talking about hybrid publishing today. That in between traditional publishing and just to do it yourself on your own. This is a pay-to-play type of operation when you want to think about it, because you really do most of the paying to be considered in the area. Now, for it, and where we left it, that was we're talking about distribution in general, and that if anyone, this is actually one of the red flags, but if anyone says, well, we guarantee we'll get your book will be distributed. Okay, by definition, and I know that Amazon is selling less print books than they did the year before. The year before, we had roughly, what was it? In 2016, Amazon almost accounted for 70% of all books sold. Now it's as we came into 2017, as it closed, we're looking at around 47%. They're doing much more business in the jewelry and the gadgets and electronics and the fashion and food even. So there are differences, but still, can you get your book distributed? Absolutely. You put it up on Amazon. It's into distribution. Anybody can find it. Can you get it distributed to bookstores? Yes, you can. You go to ingramspark.com. If you listen to the last break, Ingram Spark opens up the window to independent bookstores. But you have to say that they're returnable. Bookstores, unless they have a special order where someone is prepaid, are not going to order books unless they can send them back. So understand that. And you have to offer, of course, a discount. So that's really important. So understand that just because someone says they can distribute it, maybe you can yawn. Now, Amazon also, by the way, will say, well, we can distribute to bookstores. Bookstores are not going to, I should never say, because my fourth grade teacher, Mrs. Russell, said, one should not use the word always and never, so I won't do that. But that don't count on bookstores going to Amazon to order any books. They're going to go to the Ingram portal. If you're in the Ingram catalog, then it means that you're findable and they can order them that way. And by the way, libraries are the same way. So if you're marketing to bookstores, you need to be in the Ingram catalog. If you're marketing to libraries, you need to be in a system that opens up the library portals. Ingram is one of those in that. There's others too, but make sure. Now, with that said, it's very, very, very rare for any type of pay-to-play service, which is what the self-publishing and hybrid publishing markets are, to actively sell and distribute physical copies to bookstores. It's costly. It really requires high-end industry contacts and relationships. In the case of firms that focus on ebook distribution, let's kind of shift gears here, because you should be considering ebook distributions. All authors, it's essential for you to assess what your own strengths are and consider whether your books can be successful with some kind of a servicing partner. Sometimes we'll do a dual deal with that to see where it goes in that. So it's not the only way to go, but you want to evaluate when you're looking at someone who says they do distribution, you want to look for signs that they have a good business partner in play that can really create an attractive, quality, and successful book. And because we have all these variety of options to go, and it is so literally easy peasy to enter into publishing today. Certainly it's easy peasy. I mean, you can open up a CreateSpace account, you can upload a PDF, you can, you could even go to something like Fiverr and create a book cover, which I wouldn't recommend, but you could, do it cheap. You could be in business here in days. So, what other questions should you consider when you're talking to anybody who says they are publishing connected or they can get your book out? Well, let's kind of hit on the one that always will shoot a book down in book reviews, and that's called editing. So some services will take exactly what you give them, and I see this all the time, and pump it out without any editing, any recommendations. You get dropped in some kind of a template they own or they've created, and you get what you get. Now, that could sound really appealing to you, but let me tell you, it screams self-publishing. You did it yourself. It was done on the kitchen table. You don't want to go down that road. I have never seen, I've had some manuscripts come in to my offices under the umbrella of the Book Shepherd that were in pretty good shape, but no manuscript comes in pristine. I have never seen a book ready for prime time. They all need some work. Some need unbelievable amounts of work. Next question that you want to consider is, okay, so if I go with you, what kind of marketing are you going to offer? What kind of promotional support will my book receive? Will I receive? So you want to know what, if anything, this publishing company is going to do. They may slip back in and say, well, we'll make sure that you have international distribution. That's fine. That tells me that you're on Amazon and Ingram. Maybe either one or the other or both. That's all it tells me. So you want to know a little bit more. Are they going to create a press release? And if they are you going to have approval before it's released? Which you should, in my opinion. You want to know how far out before the book is ready, or do they wait till after the book is ready? Do they release it? You want to know what kind of contact information would be on a press release. Are they going to refer them to the hybrid publisher? Or is it going to have your information that they can contact you directly as well? Can it include your social media feeds, if that's important to you? will they continue to do press releases, more than one, after it's done? And you want to know, how does it submit the book to regular media outlets, i.e., if they do. This is if, by the way. How do they let a radio station know, a television station know, anything like that? Are they involved in it, or is this all something that you are going to be doing so it's not even on the table? The more you know, the better off. That's the bottom line here. Now, find out if the bare minimum it commits to, and if it does little more than make your title available for sale a la Amazon or Ingram, I'm going to tell you, you need to think harder about entering into this, because you know what? They're not doing anything for you. Very important. Hard here. All right. Now, here's a big one. Can you speak to other authors? Who else have they published recently? Now, you may see this very quickly if you look on their website. They may have something for recent titles. Do a Google search. Find out where they are, where you can find them, and to see if you can push it out this way. And you can find out, one of the questions are that ask them if they were pleased with the way the publisher communicated. Ask them how involved were they in the process. Ask them if they paid attention to any recommendations that the author had. Ask them if they felt they got a good value for the money that they paid. Ask them if they felt the publisher really contributed to the overall process. And I think that here's the last question I was always asked before we take our final break here. Would you do business with them again with your next book? And the last thing here is, before you ever commit to any service, it's essential, with a capital E, that you get clear answers on all your costs. Make sure you read that contract inside and out and backwards, and make sure it's got a clause in there that shows you how you can terminate. If it has a phrase that says, by mutual agreement, you can end it, do not enter into it. That's my 2 cents. We're going to take our final break. It's AuthorU, your guide to book publishing, and I'm Judith Briles, the book shepherd.
This is your guide to book publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask. With your host, Dr. Judith Briles. And we'll be right back with more great information right after these.
The book shepherding concept is simple. The publishing world is changing, and so must you. You need an experienced shepherd and a guide to partner with you as you create, strategize, develop, publish, and achieve your publishing goals. You can't do it alone without paying the price. You can spend your money creating a book that turns out to be so-so, or you can create a book that looks and feels classy, builds your brand, and is a financial success, a bestseller. It's your choice. You choose. You need the book shepherd. Publishing is riddled with obstacles, sometimes nightmares for the author. You don't need problems. You want solutions. Dr. Judith Briles will shepherd you through the maze and the chaos. At times, she's had to step in and rescue a book that has been sabotaged by a publisher or by a publishing service provider, or sometimes even the author themselves. Judith Briles is the book shepherd if you want to create a book with no regrets. Give her a call today. 303-885-2207. That's 303-885-2207. Or email her at judith@briles.com. By the way, Briles is spelled B-R-I-L-E-S. Follow Judith on Twitter at My Book Shepherd and on Facebook at The Book Shepherd.
One of the most important decisions you will ever make is your choice for printing your book. You are choosing a company which will be responsible for guiding you through the process and printing your book at a level of quality and detail that embraces your personal and creative needs. You want to choose a company that when your book finally arrives, you are delighted and ready to move on to the next level, and one that is customer focused. Choose King Printing Company and Addy Books to be that company that brings you to the next level. Go to kingprinting.com or call 978-458-2345 and ask for Tom Campbell.
At Total Printing Systems, customer service is our priority. We are located in Southern Illinois. Our employees have an average of 18 years experience and know that customer relationships are important to our continued success. We have been a short-run book printer for nearly 40 years and always stay at the forefront of technology. Our niche is from 1 to 5,000 copies. Today, we offer digital, black and white, and 4-color high-speed inkjet printing, a cost-effective way to introduce color into your short-run titles. We, of course, offer traditional offset printing as well. Bindery is done in-house, from adhesive case binding to PUR perfect binding to mechanical binding of all types, including side sewing. We provide warehousing, kitting, distribution, inventory management, a new print-on-demand facility, streaming browser-based ebooks, and bookstore. Call us at 1-800-465-5200 for a quote on your next book project. You can also visit our website at www.tps1.com.
Welcome back to your guide to book publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask. If you want to write and publish a book, if you want to be successful as an author, your guide to book publishing, everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask, is for you. Stay tuned and you'll hear about statistics, scenarios, and strategies on what to do now to get you published. So let's get back to the show. And here again is your host, Dr. Judith Briles.
All right, so as we wrap up and go through the final parts of looking at publishers, I think it's always important, and I mentioned this at the top of the show, that I was going to look at some of the red flags. I've mentioned a few in the earlier portions of the show, but there's a variety of red flags that will help you spot someone that maybe is in sheep's clothing. So let's just start with anyone who, everyone has deals, but when someone says that we can publish your book for only X amount of dollars, that's the pay to publish or the pay to play. That's the other phraseology, pay to publish, pay to play. It's just really, it's its true name. So when you're told that there's a fee to publish or print your book, that's what's being done. Quality often has little to do with it. They're just going to pump it out once they have your monies and your credit card. As I mentioned in the last segment, that sometimes there is no editing done. They'll just lift it up and push it out. That is not where you want to be. It's not where you want to be. And when you're told that there is a fee to do this, you need to know exactly what it is. That rarely do they do any marketing, they do any publicity, they don't redo mistakes. In fact, if you try to go in and correct things, it is almost like taking on an army to do that. So one of the things that's very important for you to understand is and I didn't throw this out, but you should ask this question: what does it cost to make corrections? How many times will I be able to do a redo on the cover and the like? All right. Second thing is, when someone says that, we always list all our books on Amazon, and my response to that, it is a no-brainer, a true no-brainer to get your book on Amazon. This is no big deal here. Anyone can go there. If you're going to be printing lots of books, not the print on demand, but you're actually going to do some type of an offset or a large print run, then you want to probably open up an Amazon Advantage account and take it from there. Even though, as I indicated in the last segment, that Amazon sales have been down, That's because they're pushing more of their other high-end products. That doesn't mean that you should get a divorce from them. You just have to make sure that you're in play and that the books are coming from a place that are being sold to the public, that you know what it is, because that's a whole nother issue on that. That if your dream, and this is absolutely essential to understand, if they tell you, if anyone says, oh yeah, we can get you into a bookstore, it's a red flag. It's difficult to get in the bookstore. For the Barnes & Noble, which is the biggest of the chains right now, and it's being challenged, Barnes & Noble has a special small press division, and that and where books are submitted, you have to submit a full-blown marketing plan that reveals how you're going to push books to their stores. And I think it's really important for all of you to have a come to book meeting with yourself and discuss, really, do you have the energy? Do you have the time? Do you have the wherewithal? Do you have the contacts to really put your energy for marketing directed toward bookstores? If you're going to do that, then by all means, you push that way. Now, one of the things I'm going to suggest, because this is why we've always recommended Ingram Spark for books, is that for putting up on the print-on-demand side, is that bookstores will order because it's Ingram. There is another entity called the IndieBound, IndieBound.org. I believe that y'all should have the IndieBound.org portal on your websites to encourage people to put in their particular visitors, their particular zip code. Put their zip code in, and here's what happens. As soon as the zip code is put in and the submit, that within seconds, all the independent bookstores around the locale, anywhere in the country, of independent bookstores, that zip code, voila, and then buyers will know they want to support bookstores. And I have on my website at thebookshepherd.com, I support independent bookstores, and I encourage people to order from independent bookstores. So you can do the same. It's very easy to put together. So for someone to say that we list your book on Amazon, that's kind of like a yawn. All right. Now, another very common phrase I see that is a red flag is, we have the solution for author success. Well, let me tell you, so do I. It's called work your tush off. Although it's not what they will tell you. Their success will always mean that you need to buy their upsales, their add-on packages that will drive your initial outlay, your pay-to-play with whatever this group is, it could be to many, many thousands of dollars. Now, it's a success for them, most likely not for you. Another thing that you will see, here's another red flag that is huge, is publisher is looking for authors. Just in the last few weeks, I have had multiple emails of this. Do you know anyone who wants to publish a book? Do you know anyone who wants to write a book? Do you know any authors out there? Now, sometimes they come to me not knowing who I am, and they'll push that out. And sometimes I'll take a phone call just for amusement to see what they're up to. But look at. Publishers don't go out looking for authors, but publishers are looking for authors that often usually come through an agent, or they are referred by someone else who's a happy camper. The bottom line is you're always going to have to work for it, and that is just a no-brainer here. All right, next up, it's all about credible sites, where you look for things, and that I'm going to give you a series of lists to go to. I used to love Predators and Editors, and they're no longer kind of around now, but that you can go to ripoff.com, and that you can see are there any complaints, but you should be doing your own homework. So here's what I want you all to really do, is when you're looking at working with it, whether it's a publishing provider or a service provider, any pay-to-play operation, I want you to take the company's name and then add the word scam, Google search. Then I want you to take the company name again and then add problem. Company name again, add complaint. Company name again and add fraud. Company name again and add the word ripoff. Company name again and add lawsuit. Now, you notice I didn't say Better Business Bureau because people pay, as much as they say, oh, I've got an A rating or an A+ rating with Better Business Bureau. There was a company that went belly up last year, not a couple of years ago, last year, and it was called Tate, T-A-T-E. I'm telling you, so many authors got bamboozled by Tate. There were multiple complaints that people could find online about Tate. There were problems listed. There were multiple lawsuits listed, and yet the BBB carried them as A+. So I take a pass on that one. But when victims are scams, a lot of times we don't want other people to know that we boo-booed. I think you need to shout it out and let people know, do not do business with these individuals. They're bad apples in the players. Otherwise, it dominoes and other people get ripped off. So first start with a Google search. Remember, you've got to go past page 1. These companies know how to push down bad news. And 90% of individuals who go to Google looking for something never go past page 1. You are going to do that. And it's just very, very important to understand this. Now, the last couple of things I think is to understand that a lot of times these companies practice what's known bait and switch. A lot of these pay-to-pay operations are a boiler room operation. It's all about getting quotas. We need more people, more authors, more books in the pipeline. And that what happens once you do the okay, they will switch over and starting to getting you to push up more funds. So just be careful. So with that, it's a wrap for this afternoon. That there's a lot of options out here. There's a lot of avenues for your authoring success. I know it. But you've got to work with people who have been there, done that. You've got to work with people who have really walked the talk. You don't play around with individuals who are newbies and greenie in the system. You can be successful, but it takes work, and that's the bottom line. Happy publishing, happy writing. I'll be with you next week.
Thank you for being a part of Your Guide to Book Publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask. With your host, Dr. Judith Briles. Each week, a variety